We've also been following the story of Scottish-Israeli woman Danielle Bett, who spoke to BBC Scotland last month from a bomb shelter in her building in Tel Aviv. This afternoon, she told me she felt hopeful.
Yeah, I think it's a long-awaited and very much welcome ceasefire with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and I hope that it's a long-lasting ceasefire, not just a temporary resolution. I hope that it holds, obviously, for the sake of the people of Lebanon and also for the tens of thousands of Israelis in the north of Israel who've had 14 months of constant bombardment, many of whom have had to evacuate from their homes. So for them, hopefully, it's a long-term resolution that allows them to go back home.
I suppose it's the first sign of hope you've had for some time.
Yeah. I think it shows that even the current far-right Israeli government knows that military resolutions have their limits and ultimately diplomacy is needed to achieve security.
And you're in Tel Aviv just now, Danielle. How is life there and what's it been for the last few months?
Yeah, Tel Aviv is kind of a privileged area to live in the sense that there are far less bombings than in the north or south of Israel. Having said that, every time that there has been an escalation, especially with Iran, we've experienced that too. And over the past few weeks, we have seen more bombings from Hezbollah in the north reach this area. And actually 10 minutes from my house the other week, there was a bomb that hit a building and caused quite significant damage. A few people were injured. So obviously high tensions and people, whilst are safer here than they are in many other areas, still feel very on edge and nervous. So I think for a lot of people, this is a big relief.
And how would you say people are feeling generally about the continuing conflicts? And, obviously there are still hostages being held and haven't been returned to their families. There's still the huge death tolls in Gaza. What's the kind of feeling? What are you picking up around you?
The vast majority of the Israeli public, not just by feeling, but according to polling, the vast majority of the Israeli public is ready for the war with Gaza to end. There's a poll just this week that shows that over 2/3 of the Israeli public wants the war with Gaza to end and for all the hostages to be released. And that has been a trend for quite some time now. I think people are incredibly frustrated because if we've managed to negotiate a ceasefire deal with Hezbollah, there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to negotiate a deal with Hamas, especially when we have hostages being held in Gaza.
How do you feel right now about the future, Danielle?
I think we have a lot of challenges ahead. I know that it's not just about the issue of regional war, that we hope that this ceasefire leads to another, and indeed we can end this, what feels like an endless war with Gaza. I think that the future is really challenging. I think that we are in kind of a period where I've said for quite some time things might get worse before they get better. And I think we're very much in that worst stage now because we do have a far-right government that is implementing more and more controls on the media, more and more violence against protesters, and also claims to be planning to annex the West Bank. So I think that we really do need the support of the international community to stop things like that from happening, because the long-term damage may become something that we can't change, and we are at a point in time now where things can change. So I think it's up to decision makers to make the decision whether we let things get worse or if we put a stop to extremism and help things get better.
Danielle Bett there, a Scottish-Israeli woman speaking to me this afternoon from Tel Aviv.